Gardenora, Cortes Generalta, Taragig, Adam.
Meldebrother, chassis, good.
Gardenora, Umpraig, Adam. Gardenora, Shasik, Rosh. Gardenora, Hukra. Gardenora, Guard Allah. Gardenora, Cortes Generalta, Taragig, Adam. Gardenora, Umpraig, Adam. Gardenora, Shasik, Rosh. Hukra. Sorry. Hello. Yeah. Can you touch this side? Guard and order! Guard honor! Guard and order! Cortes Generalta! Tanagig! Adam! Guard and order! Umpraig! Adam!
Agwini, you are invited to stand as Minister Heather Humphreys and Minister Jean-Marc Todeschini are escorted through the courtesy guard of honour to take up their position in the seating area. Mesdames et Messieurs, je vous invite à vous lever pendant que la ministre Heather Humphreys et le ministre Jean-Marc Todeschini sont escortés à travers la garde d'honneur pour rejoindre leur place.
Mel na Braddock. Mel Ira.
You are invited to remain standing as the national colours will now be marched onto parade. All military personnel will salute. Je vous invite à rester debout au moment où les emblèmes nationaux rentrent sur le dispositif. Tous les militaires les salueront. Please be seated. Vous pouvez vous asseoir. Lord Mayor of Dublin, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. You are all very welcome here today to Glasnevin Cemetery for the dedication ceremony of this France-Ireland memorial, a gift from France to Ireland. This event is part of the Ireland 2016 Battle of the Somme State Ceremonial Centenary Programme. Monsieur le maire de Dublin, Madame et Messieurs les ministres, Vos Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, bonjour. Vous êtes tous les bienvenus ici aujourd'hui au cimetière de Glasnevin pour l'inauguration du mémorial France-Irlande, un don de la France à l'Irlande. Cet événement fait partie du programme gouvernemental de cérémonie Irlande 2016, du centenaire de la bataille de la Somme. My name is Commandant Stephen McOwen of Oakley-na-Heron, the Defence Forces, and I will be Master of Ceremonies for today's event. May I now request that all mobile phones be switched off, please. Je suis le commandant Stephen McOwen de l'armée irlandaise et je serai aujourd'hui le maître de cérémonie. Puis-je vous demander à présent d'éteindre vos téléphones portables? Merci. Our ceremony today is being led jointly by Heather Humphreys, Minister for Arts, Heritage, Regional, Rural and Gaeltacht Affairs on behalf of the Government of Ireland, and Minister Jean-Marc Todeschini, Minister for Veterans and Remembrance at the French Department of Defence on behalf of the Government of France. Our ceremony takes place in conjunction with Mr. John Green, Chairman of the Board of Glasnevin Trust. Notre cérémonie aujourd'hui est co-présidée par Heather Humphreys, ministre des Arts, du Patrimoine, des Affaires régionales, rurales et gaéliques pour le gouvernement irlandais, et par le ministre Jean-Marc Todeschini, secrétaire d'État auprès du ministère de la Défense, auprès du ministre de la Défense, chargé des anciens combattants et de la mémoire pour le gouvernement français. Notre cérémonie est organisée conjointement avec M. John Green, président du conseil d'administration de la Fondation Glasnevin. We would like to acknowledge the presence here today of those of you who have travelled long distances in order to join us, to members of the extended French community here in Ireland and their representatives, including students from the Lycée Français d'Irlande school in Dublin, together with their parents. Nous souhaitions saluer la présence ici de ceux d'entre vous qui sont venus de loin pour se joindre à nous, membres de l'importante communauté française en Irlande et leurs représentants, y compris les élèves du lycée français d'Irlande à Dublin, présents avec leurs parents. Our welcome is also extended to representatives of regimental associations and to the various Irish-French organisations and institutions who are with us today. I would like to welcome Vice Admiral Mark Mellett, DSM, Chief of Staff of Oakley-na-Heron, and Superintendent Dan Flavin, representing the Commissioner of An Garda Síochána. Nous accueillons également les représentants des associations réglementaires et de nombreux organismes et institutions franco-irlandais qui sont aujourd'hui ici parmi nous. Je veux accueillir aussi le vice-amiral Mark Mellett, DSM, chef d'état-major des armées irlandaises, ainsi que le commissaire Dan Flavin, représentant du chef de la police nationale irlandaise. During today's event, reflections on the First World War and on the period of the Battle of the Somme in particular will be presented. We remember especially the period from the 3rd to the 9th of September 1916, when the men of the 16th Irish Division took control of the village of Ginchy in northwest France. These men created the original wooden Ginchy cross, which is now located at the Island Bridge War Memorial in Dublin, and a copy of which is in place at the churchyard in Guillemont. The replica of this cross has been incorporated into this new France-Ireland memorial, created by renowned French sculptor Patrice Alexandre, with students from the École nationale supérieure des beaux-arts de Paris. Our ceremony today commenced with the marching on parade of national and regimental colours from the French and Irish forces. Together with the Irish national colours, we witnessed the presentation of the regimental standard of the 92nd Battalion of the French Army, which is of special significance to this island and the history of which is included in your booklets. We will shortly be addressed by the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of Glasnevin Trust, by the sculptor Mr. Patrice Alexander, and by Ministers Humphreys and Todeschini. The band of 2 Brigade will then present a musical interlude with Danny Boy, and reflections will be read by students from the Lycée Français, representing both Ireland and France. Thereafter, as the mark of dedication, the ministers will lay wreaths at the base of this unique memorial to recall the memory of those Irish men and women who have fought for the freedom and defence of France. 1 minute of silence will be observed, followed directly by a piper's lament and the last post. Finally, Reveille will be sounded and our dedication ceremony will conclude with the playing of the national anthems. To start our proceedings today, may I now invite the Chief Executive Officer of Glasnevin Trust, Mr. George McCullough, to deliver his introductory comments.
Lord Mayor, Ministers, Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. On behalf of the Board of Glasnevin Trust and on behalf of our Chairman, John Green, and particularly on behalf of the staff here at Glasnevin Trust, all of whom have worked so hard to make this day possible in the inauguration of the French-Ireland Memorial. I particularly welcome the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Councillor Brendan Carr, our own Minister Heather Humphreys, TD Minister for Arts, Heritage, Regional Affairs and the Gaeltacht, and Jean-Marc Todeschini, Minister for Veterans and Remembrance. And of course, a very, very warm welcome to all of you, our distinguished and very important guests here at Glasnevin today. It's now my pleasure to introduce our Chairman, the Chairman of Glasnevin Trust, to address you and to put into context the French-Ireland Memorial here at Glasnevin. Thank you.
Ardvira, Ari Ambassadori, Una de He, Puibli, O Huig, Agus Oyas. Cordia O'Heron, Agus Own Frank, Fulcher. Lord Mayor, Ministre, Ambassadeur. Amis de l'Irlande et de la France. Bienvenue. Glasnevin Trust is honoured to be the custodian of the France-Ireland Memorial. Custodian of the gift from the people of France to all the people on this island. It is appropriate that this memorial is here in Glasnevin, where at every turn there is a glimpse of the long relationship between our 2 countries. Indeed, just note the chair monument in from the pathway at the wall there. A memorial to Professor Edouard Cadic, Professor of French, Romance and Philology in UCD and its forerunner, the National University. Cadic was a recipient of the Légion d'honneur who lectured Joyce and Pearce, both of whom acknowledged him. Through the foundation of the France-German Club, he influenced many young nationalists, including Plunkett. At the club, Joseph Mary met his first love, Columba O'Carroll. J.J. O'Kelly, the New York journalist, who raised an Irish brigade to fight in the Franco-Prussian War, and Louis Werner, the famous Dublin photographer, born in Alsace, who had fought in the Franco-Prussian War before he emigrated here. Both of them are buried just behind the memorial here. Michael McWhite, Croix de Guerre, Légion d'honneur, who joined the French Foreign Legion in World War I on the suggestion of Arthur Griffith, and then became Ireland's representative at the League of Nations. He is buried over near Griffith. Edith Cryan, a nurse who died because of her service in the French Red Cross in World War I, is buried in a family tomb, family vault in the Tower Circle. On the screen walls, there are lists of names of those who died fighting for the liberation of France in World War II. Most overtly, the names on the screen walls cast light on those who fought in and for France. But there are thousands of others buried here. So I urge you to wander through this cemetery with France-Ireland spectacles on, and you will be amazed. It is fitting in this extraordinary year of commemoration that we inaugurate this memorial. A year of commemoration on the battlefields of Europe and in the homelands of those who fought there. Never has World War I been so thoroughly remembered. Dignified, respectful, inclusive commemorations have been the hallmark of remembrance this year, as it has been here in Ireland, where the Easter Rising has been the centrepiece of our 2016 commemorations. The inauguration of this memorial is hugely symbolic, teaching us of the contribution of Ireland to these conflicts and of the enduring fraternity between our two countries. It will serve as a reminder to future generations of the mutual experience of Ireland and France and of the awful cost of war. Merci beaucoup. May I now introduce Professor Patrice Alexandre, the sculptor from the École Nationale Supérieure des Beaux-Arts.
Madame Heather Humphreys, ministre des Arts et de la Culture et des Régions de langue gaélique, Monsieur Jean-Marc Todeschini, secrétaire d'État auprès du ministre de la Défense, chargé des anciens combattants et de la mémoire, Monsieur Jean-Pierre Thébault, ambassadeur de France en Irlande, John Green, Mesdames et Messieurs, je vais parler en anglais. Sorry, I don't speak Gaelic. I speak English like a Frenchman. The emotion makes my speech harder. However, under the sky, on the earth, materials, our common remember makes us feel the same language. We could each other understand when we had to pull up the stones, when we decided how to place these stones, and the remembrance of the seat. In 10 days, we wanted to verify as an echo our common respect for the Irish women and men who died during these 3 wars. I remember our first discussion with Sir Jean-Marc Todeschini and the help of Damien Baldin, the share of opinions with Jean-Pierre Thébault, French ambassador in Ireland, and Frédéric Roser, cultural attaché, for his help and empathy. I remember also our conversation with Jean-Marc Bustamante, director of the Fine Arts School of Paris, who really understood the challenge of this creation. I remember Patricia Stieb, directrice, and Didier Semin, also director, who seriously followed the evolution of the project. We are lucky to work with the men of the Stones, our friend. During this work, James McKeown and Niall Kavanagh, and all these women and men who speak with the beautiful language of the stone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we were also lucky to work with my students, Anaïs Hang, Cecilia Breuil, Théophile, and Alexander Ratzka, and Théophile Stern, and Adrien Gunther. To meet the very fantastic team of Glasnevin Trust. John Green, Chairman, Martin Callinghan, Conor Dodd, and John McCullough, who was with me, the boss of this incredible history. And thank you for you, Irish people, to be here. We don't speak the same language, but we are the same people. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Alexander. I now invite Minister Humphreys to deliver her remarks.
Lord Mayor of Dublin, Councillor Brendan Carr, Minister, elected representatives, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Irish Government, I am delighted to join with Mr. Jean-Marc Todeschini, Minister for Veterans and Remembrances at the French Ministry for Defence, and Chairman of Glasnevin Trust, Mr. John Green, for the inauguration of the French International Memorial. I'd like to welcome the many guests who have joined us here today, representing the French community in Ireland, regimental associations, the educational community, and wider civil society. I would also like to welcome the mayors of Guillemont and Ginchy. The government and people of Ireland are honoured to accept this wonderful monument, a gift from France to Ireland, to acknowledge the contribution of Irish men to the defence and freedom of France. The centre of this memorial is the replica Ginchy Cross, the original of which is kept at the War Memorial Garden at Island Bridge here in Dublin, and which Minister Todeschini viewed on his visit here last year. Carved on the cross, which we inaugurate today, is an extract from a tribute paid by French World War I hero General Foch in Irish, French and English. These words recall to the flower of Irish chivalry resting in the cemeteries of France. It is also worthwhile to read the longer tribute, which is reproduced in today's programme, where General Foch stated, "I saw Irishmen of the North and the South forget their age-long differences and fight side by side, giving their lives freely for the common cause." The decade of centenaries has provided us with the opportunity, North and South, to recall and explore our shared history in an inclusive and respectful manner, and to remember those from this island, from all traditions, who fought and died in the First World War. As part of the Battle of the Somme commemoration on the 1st of July, I was honoured to have accompanied President Michael D. Higgins as guest of the French and British governments for the moving commemoration ceremonies at Thiepval. We remembered the thousands from many nations who had paid the ultimate price in that terrible conflict. It was also a personal privilege for me to lay a wreath this year at the location of the original cross at the special centenary commemoration ceremony in September at Guillemont. This was the location where the original cross was erected by the men of the 16th Irish Division who gave so much during those dark days of September 1916. We can only guess what was in the minds of those men when they used the beams from the ruined buildings around Ginchy to create the original cross. In the midst of their misery and discomfort, they took it upon themselves to leave a mark, to recall their actions, their loss, and their role in defence of the liberty of France. This gift from France to Ireland gives us all an opportunity to recall our shared narrative and the common bond between the French and Irish people. The memorial, inspired by a simple wooden cross erected on French soil 100 years ago during World War I, also recalls the role played by Irish men and women to French freedom in other conflicts, as acknowledged on the bronze helmets which refer to the Franco-Prussian War and World War II. This beautiful gift shows how artistic expression can explain, inspire, and move us in a special way. Those who saw the Abbey Theatre's production of Observe the Sons of Ulster marching towards the Somme take place as light fell on the site of the battlefield on the eve of the July commemorations in France this year recall it as an unforgettable experience. The helmets in front of us today are a stark reminder of the human loss and suffering caused by war. They force us to remember the individuals behind the uniforms. This monument was created by students from l'École Nationale Supérieure des Beaux-Arts in Paris under the direction of renowned sculptor Patrice Alexandre. This day, 1 year ago in Paris, these students lost a friend and fellow student in that terrible attack at Bataclan. That attack on French liberty reminds us that we must still be vigilant in protecting our common European and democratic ideals. In paying tribute today to those Irish men and women who died in defence of French freedom, we must also pause today to remember those who lost their lives in Paris on the 13th of November 2015. That tragedy was also inspired by the creation of this memorial. I wish to thank Professor Alexandre and his students for coming here today for the inauguration. You can all be proud of your achievement. Some might question the need for commemoration, for looking back and dwelling in the past. But I believe we would be shirking our duty as descendants of those who suffered and showed incredible bravery almost 100 years ago not to commemorate the terrible events of that time. During this decade of centenaries, we have been intent on engaging in the complicated narratives surrounding Ireland's participation in World War I. New sources of information, the many inclusive commemorative ceremonies, and the contribution of the media have led to a deeper and more open understanding of the influences and reasons for the thousands of Irish men and women who chose to enlist in that terrible conflict. The memorial today, presented by the French government, is a further realisation of this understanding, a further reframing which reminds us that France also remembers those who came to its aid in its time of need. It is another symbol of the long history of deep solidarity between the French and Irish people. This solidarity is built on shared values and aspirations, including the service rendered by so many Irish men and women in the service of France. In furtherance of this relationship, I am pleased to announce that Minister Todeschini and myself will be signing today a declaration of intent between Ireland and France to continued and deepened cooperation between our two nations in the area of joint commemorations. Finally, I want to pay tribute to the French Ambassador, Mr. Jean-Pierre Thibault, for his unstinting commitment to ensuring this project was delivered, and also the cooperation and support of Glasnevin Trust. Goramila Mahigiv Golair.
Thank you, Minister. Agwiniushla, Mesdames et Messieurs, I now invite Minister Jean-Marc Todeschini to address us on this important occasion.
Monsieur le Lord Maire, Madame la Ministre, Monsieur le Président de la Fondation Glasnevin, Monsieur le Chef d'État-major, Monsieur le maire de Guinchy, Monsieur le maire de Guimont, Mesdames et Messieurs les ambassadeurs, Madame la directrice de l'École nationale supérieure des beaux-arts de Paris, Monsieur Patrice Alexandre, Mesdames et Messieurs les étudiants de l'École des beaux-arts, Mesdames et Messieurs les officiers, sous-officiers et porte-drapeaux, Mesdames et Messieurs. Il y a 100 ans, au cœur des combats de la Grande Guerre, des hommes que rien ne prédestinait à se rencontrer, luttaient et souvent mouraient côte à côte. Il s'appelait Désiré Béal, il était français. Il s'appelait Tom Kittle, il était irlandais. Tous deux sont morts à Guinchy en septembre 1916. Au total, ils furent plus de 200 000 Irlandais venant de toute l'Irlande, du monde entier, à servir dans les armées alliées, dont l'armée française, entre 1914 et 1918. Cette fraternité d'armes s'illustre dès les premiers jours du conflit. Elle se poursuit sur tous les fronts, dans les Flandres, mais aussi à Gallipoli, à Salonique. Sur le front de l'Ouest, la 36e division d'Ulster est décimée à Thiepval le 1er juillet 1916, au tout début de l'offensive sur la Somme. La 16e division irlandaise attaque le 9 septembre 1916 à Guinchy et y subit de lourdes pertes. Ces mêmes jours, à quelques kilomètres, à Chaulnes, le 92e régiment d'infanterie française, héritier des régiments irlandais de l'armée française, présent aujourd'hui avec son drapeau, se battait à leur côté. La présence hautement symbolique en ce jour des maires des villages de Guinchy et de Guimont témoigne que nous n'avons jamais oublié ces sacrifices. Entre 1914 et 1918, près de 35 000 Irlandais ont perdu la vie au front. Autant d'itinéraires personnels et de destins dont beaucoup sont venus se briser sur le sol de France. Il nous appartient, à nous, Irlandais et Français, d'entretenir leur mémoire. Cette mémoire ne se nourrit pas seulement de l'engagement sur les fronts de la Grande Guerre. À travers ma présence, la France salue aussi la mémoire des milliers d'Irlandais qui se sont spontanément portés volontaires pour la défense de la France en 1870 et 1871, comme tous ceux qui, par dizaines de milliers, ont combattu dans les armées alliées et jusque dans la résistance française pour la libération de notre pays entre 1939 et 1945. Et le souvenir de cette fraternité est longtemps resté enfermé dans l'histoire, trop longtemps. Aujourd'hui, notamment à l'aune des grandes commémorations du centenaire de la Grande Guerre, ce souvenir est revivifié et avec lui, la mémoire partagée entre nos deux pays. C'est au nom de toute cette histoire que j'ai souhaité me rendre à Dublin et traduire dans la pierre l'hommage de la France aux Irlandais. C'est pourquoi nous inaugurons aujourd'hui ce mémorial France-Irlande, hommage d'un peuple à un autre en ce lieu de Glasnevin. Je veux très sincèrement remercier et féliciter le sculpteur Patrice Alexandre et les étudiants de l'École nationale supérieure des beaux-arts de Paris qui se sont investis dans ce projet mémoriel et artistique. Je salue tout particulièrement le rôle essentiel joué par la Fondation Glasnevin. Je vous remercie chaleureusement, Madame la ministre Heather Humphreys, et à travers vous, votre ministère et tous ceux qui, en Irlande, ont rendu ce projet possible au nom de notre mémoire partagée. Et ensemble, nous l'inscrirons effectivement dans la durée en signant une déclaration d'intention dans le domaine de la coopération mémorielle. Mesdames et messieurs, en ce jour du souvenir, la France, aux côtés de l'Irlande, se souvient de l'engagement de tous les Irlandais dans la Grande Guerre, dans tous les conflits où le sort de la France était en jeu, de l'amitié et de la solidarité de tous les Irlandais dans tous les moments difficiles. Encore très récemment, et promet de veiller, bien sûr, à ce que cette mémoire et reconnaissance ne s'éteignent jamais. Vive l'Irlande, vive la France, vive l'amitié franco-irlandaise. Je vous remercie.
Agwiniushla, Mesdames et Messieurs, I now invite Agathe Bonnet and Rebecca Rowland from the Lycée Français d'Irlande to come to the podium to read their reflections.
Lettre de Julien Christol, 15 octobre 1914. Cher papa, chère maman, avant de quitter Saint-Denis pour les lignes de feu, je tiens à vous dire mes dernières volontés. C'est avec conscience et en toute connaissance de cause que j'ai demandé à partir. J'ai voulu rester digne du nom de Christol. C'est le seul et le plus bel héritage que vous puissiez nous transmettre. Vous nous avez toujours dit que nous devions accomplir notre devoir entièrement, malgré tous les sacrifices qu'il comporte. Tous, nous devons avec résignation donner notre vie à la patrie, tels les anciens et nos aïeux de 89, restons dignes d'eux. Je pars avec votre bénédiction. Vous êtes tous deux résignés et prêts au dernier sacrifice. Recevez mes plus affectueux baisers. Vous avez toujours été bons pour nous, Il a fallu qu'une guerre barbare détruise la douce maison de la Varenne où j'ai passé de si bons moments près de vous et de la famille. L'homme propose, Dieu dispose. Adieu. J'aurais aimé vous rendre la vie heureuse que vous avez faite à tous. Mais hélas, ayez du courage. C'est pour la France et la justice que votre Julien est mort. Adieu. Julien Christol.
To my daughter Betty, The Gift of God, by Thomas Kettle. In wiser days, my darling rosebud, blown to beauty proud as your mother's prime. In that desired, delayed, incredible time, you'll ask why I abandoned you, my own, and the dear heart that was your baby thrown, to dice with death. And oh, they'll give you rhyme and reason. Some will call the thing sublime, and some decry it a knowing one. So here, while the mad guns curse overhead, and tired men sigh with mud for couch and floor, know that we fools, now with the foolish dead, died not for flag, nor king, nor emperor, but for a dream, born in a herdsman's shed, and for the secret scripture for the poor.
Agwiniushla, Mesdames and Messieurs, as the Honour Guard is now coming on parade, you are invited to stand.
Guard Nora, Jessica Marshall. Guard Nora, Radig, 5. Stad. Guard Nora, you're going to put Clay, P. Laharov, Onyesh, Jasi. Guard Nora, Darkig, Roiv. Guard Nora, Ungfrig, Arp. Guard Nora, Ashumfrig, Arp. Guard Nora, Arm, Ashumfraha, Lee.
Agwiniushla, Mesdames et Messieurs, I now invite Minister Humphreys and Minister Todeschini to lay wreaths on behalf of the governments of France and of Ireland. Agwiniushla, Mesdames et Messieurs, there now follows 1 minute of silence. You are invited to remain standing.
Guard Nora. Guard Ara. Guard Nora. Humphreys. Arm. Guard Nora. Taragig. Arm. Guard Nora. Humphreys. Arm. Guard Nora. Taragig. Arm.
Agoniushle, Mesdames, Messieurs, our ceremony has now concluded. You are invited to remain standing as the Irish national colours are marched off parade. All military personnel will salute.
Gardnora, Curtis and Brattock, Taragig, Arp. Gardnora, Humphreys, Arp. Gardnora, Cleanig, Arp. Gardnora, Ayant, Joss, and Pete. Jossie Gamar, Marshall.
Agoniushle, Mesdames et Messieurs, you are invited to remain in place and to welcome the French Defence Attaché, Colonel Antoine de Loustal, who will introduce a short Government of France ceremony to award the Legion of Honour. At the conclusion of all ceremonies, refreshments will be available in the museum building and you are requested to follow the steward's guidance. Thank you. I will now hand you over to Colonel de Loustal.
You are invited to be seated. Lord Mayor, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Todeschini, French Minister of State for Veterans and Remembrance, is now going to decorate 3 Irish veterans who took part in operations to liberate France from 6 June 1944 onwards. Mr. Todeschini will begin by saying a few words and talking to these heroes before officially awarding them the Légion d'honneur, which is the highest French distinction which was created by Napoleon. Mr. Todeschini will then congratulate the recipients and greet the families before saluting the national colours and returning to his seat. The ceremony will then be over. You will be asked to stand during the awarding of the medals and saluting of the national colours. Mr. Todeschini.
Chers Messieurs Albert Sutton et James Moore, chère Madame Barbara Alshir, il y a quelques instants, nous inaugurions un monument en ce cimetière de Glasnevin qui traduit l'hommage de la France à l'égard des Irlandais qui se sont engagés à leur côté. Si la mémoire partagée entre nos deux pays se fonde sur le souvenir commun de la Grande Guerre, elle se nourrit aussi du courage d'hommes qui, pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale, ont fait le choix de la liberté et de l'indignation face à l'idéologie nazie qui voulait s'abattre sur l'Europe. Chers messieurs Albert Sutton et James Moore, vous avez fait ce choix avec audace, avec esprit de sacrifice et de fraternité, comme l'a fait votre frère d'armes, Jack Alshir, décédé il y a peu. Vous débarquez tous les 3 sur les plages de Normandie à l'été 1944. Vous avez un peu moins, ou à peine, plus de 20 ans. Et déjà, vous accomplissez un acte qui peut engager votre vie. Le 6 juin 2014, le président de la République, François Hollande, vous a rendu hommage à Ouistreham, ainsi qu'à tous ces hommes venus des 4 coins du monde unir leur destin au sceau de la solidarité et de la défense de la liberté. C'est là, en Normandie, que vos itinéraires se sont séparés. Cher Albert Sutton, après un passage par la Belgique, vous participez à la libération du camp de Bergen-Belsen. Vous découvrez alors l'innommable, qui porte pourtant un nom, l'inhumanité. C'est avec ces images de corps décharnés qui gisent sur le sol que vous devrez apprendre à vous reconstruire au lendemain de la guerre. Cher James Moore, vous rejoignez, après le débarquement, l'aérodrome de Carpiquet, où vous êtes en charge de la vérification des appareils avant de terminer la guerre à Bruges, en Belgique. Par votre courage, votre professionnalisme, vos savoir-faire, vous êtes de ces hommes sans qui l'engagement opérationnel n'aurait pas été possible. Chère Barbara Alshir, nous honorons aussi aujourd'hui la mémoire de votre époux, Jack. Après l'enfer du débarquement, il est blessé par une balle allemande à la jambe gauche. Devant l'impossibilité d'être évacué, il est renvoyé au combat. Dans le récit qu'il faisait de son expérience de la guerre, il rappelait souvent avoir couru vers les cadavres des artilleurs pour vérifier que son frère Thomas, membre des Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers, n'en faisait pas partie. Car cette guerre fut bien sûr pour lui un engagement, mais aussi une histoire familiale. Chers messieurs, chères madames, vous êtes parmi les derniers visages de la mémoire partagée par nos deux pays. Il nous appartient à nous, Irlandais et Français, de transmettre vos histoires à nos enfants. C'est pour moi un honneur et une fierté de venir vous témoigner, ici, chez vous, en Irlande, la reconnaissance éternelle de la France. C'est un geste fort et symbolique, mais c'est surtout un geste d'amitié. C'est un geste que la France vous devait.
Mr. Todeschini will now award the medals. I invite you to stand for this part of the proceeding and remain standing up the time when the French national colour will withdraw from the parade.
Monsieur James Moore, au nom du Président de la République, nous vous faisons chevalier de la Légion d'honneur. Monsieur Albert Sutton, au nom du Président de la République, nous vous faisons chevalier de la Légion d'honneur.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to. Thank you.
En mémoire de votre époux, Monsieur Jack Alshir, l'État français vous remet cette croix de la Légion d'honneur.
Mr. Todeschini will now salute the national colour. All military will salute. Many thanks for your attention. The ceremony has now ended.